Hello, my beautiful buds. Welcome back to my channel, Sprouts with Joy. My name is Joy, and if you like to talk about plants, you're in the right place. It's really no secret that I have a lot of plants on my wish list. There are a number of plants that I would buy happily and add them to my collection. If I were to buy all those plants, I don't know for sure if I would really have the space for or the capacity to care for them, realistically speaking. However, I will say there are a few plants that I think, if given the opportunity, I really don't know that I would buy them. Yeah, I guess you could consider this like an anti-haul of sorts. I watch a lot of fashion YouTube as well as plant YouTube and some of my other hobbies and that sort of thing. And people do anti-hauls of trends and that sort of thing. So I thought it might be fun to take a look at the plants that maybe I wouldn't spend my money on. Now, these aren't necessarily plants that I dislike. And honestly, like, obviously if you guys like these plants or want to spend your money on those plants, that is your prerogative. Like, don't let my opinion sway you one way or the other. That's just my personal opinion. I will say some of the plants on this list I genuinely don't care for. I wouldn't want them in my collection even if someone gave them to me for free. But some of these plants I think are really beautiful and I would be willing to give them a try. If I obtained the plant through a plant trade or if someone just gave the plant to me, I probably wouldn't say no to some of these. But for various reasons, which I'll get into, I don't think I would spend the money on them. So the first plant on my list is the Philodendron Melanochrysum. I don't think I'm ever going to pay money for this plant, even though I have noticed that the price has been coming down on these guys significantly. At one point, I mean, oh gosh, I can't remember exactly how much they used to go for, but it was definitely kind of close to $100 for a pretty humble plant, I think. If I'm like misremembering that, please feel free to correct me in the comments below. But I remember this plant being super hot and super expensive. But more recently, let me see if I can even just like look up a specific price for this, but I have been seeing them like on sale. Okay, so I'm looking it up and plants with like several leaves or like pretty decent sized plants are popping up for like $20, $30, something like that. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember they were way more expensive in the past. So I think that there is a reason for that. I do think that the demand for the Melanochrysum has also plummeted, hence the price plummeting, because so many people have struggled with them. And I have never owned a Melanochrysum. Actually, I don't think, yeah, none of the plants in this list have I owned. Maybe I should have clarified that. Okay, there's a fuzz now. Get out of here. Infuriating little guys. And maybe I should have clarified that. Actually, none of the plants on this list have I owned. They're all plants I've seen from afar, and I just don't think I would ever spend my money on them, period. Anyways, so yeah, the Melanochrysum, I think so many people have just had issues with it growing, with the leaves tearing, with them being wonky, kind of like the Philodendron Brantianum, which I did buy, but I got it for like $8 at Lowe's. And I also got it when I was a little bit more naive and thought that maybe I could be the one that would make the difference, even though all these people were having a hard time. No, I know that I probably don't have the ideal environment for it. Some people do great with Melanochrysum. If you're one of those people, let me know what your secrets are and maybe I will reconsider my decision to have it on this list. Far and away, I've just seen countless people struggling with this plant and I don't need that stress in my life. I don't want to spend money on it, even though the price is going down. I'm just not interested. That's that. I think it's a beautiful plant. There are plenty of other velvet-leaved philodendron that can kind of tickle that fancy or fill that craving for me. Heck, Melanochrysum hybrids are definitely way easier than the Melanochrysum itself. Like I have a Philodendron Splendid and that is good enough for me. Okay, next on this list, so I made this list actually a few weeks ago or over the course of a few weeks, but in the last few weeks I've sort of been reconsidering this one and going back and forth, but I think I'll include it anyways, and that is the spider plant. And I don't know, I've always felt put off by it for some reason. I don't really know how to explain it, you guys. I really don't. I know some people also like hate spider plants and some people really love them. Like they seem kind of divisive in some ways. I love that they are relatively common and accessible plants. I do really like how they have like spider babies. I think that's honestly like the best part of the plant is just when they have a bunch of babies, not for the sake of propagating them, but just the look of it I think is very fun. I think I would maybe consider getting a spider plant. But the thing is, I really like them when they're big, but I don't know that I want to lend that much space to a spider plant. Does that make sense? Like my favorite look of the spider plant is when they take over, they have so many babies. A garden center in my area, Pandy's, if you saw in my video where I went to the IX Center, the great big home and garden show thing, I showed spider plants from Pandy's that they were just massive and those were beautiful. I kind of considered it, but again, do I really want to take up that much space? Yes, it would be hanging, and so maybe that would help a bit, but it's like, I just don't know. I will say for a really long time, I actually just didn't like the look of the spider plant whatsoever. It has been growing on me. I also don't know if that's just because of the influence of other plant YouTubers like Becca De La Plants and Planting Ashley. She also loves spider plants. So I don't know. I feel like it might just be the influence of people, and part of me stubbornly like doesn't want to get a plant just because I've been influenced to get a plant. Maybe, I mean, if someone were to give me like a spider plant baby, another part to it is like maybe I shouldn't pay for it because they're so easy to propagate, and I know people that have spider plants. I'm somewhat on the fence about this, so if I end up buying a spider plant in the future, don't at me. It just means I changed my mind, and that's okay. If I were to get a spider plant, I don't know that I would necessarily want to get the classic spider plant. I think I actually prefer the look of the curly spider plant. I think it's a little bit more interesting. The next plant that I don't think I would ever get is the Anthurium warocquianum, the queen herself. And okay, listen. Do I think she's stunning? Yes. Do I think she's the queen for a reason? Yes. But the girl is way too high maintenance. It's kind of similar to the Melanochrysum where like all the information that I've seen on her says that she's a temperamental lady, and I just don't want to spend that much money on a plant because she's still up there in price. I don't want to spend that much money on a plant that I would be anxious about losing all the time. Aside from that, I don't even have that much experience with anthuriums, and I know you don't necessarily need a greenhouse cabinet to grow anthuriums really well, but for the queen, I think I would maybe need that humidity. I don't know, just kind of based on what other people have said about the plant. If someone, for whatever reason, gave me an Anthurium warocquianum, would I take it? Of course. Obviously. I mean, yeah, sure, I'm willing to try her, but like, am I going to spend, let's see, how much is she going for now? And here's the deal too. If I were to get one, I would want to get like a very well-established plant because I would be terrified to raise like an Anthurium warocquianum seedling or a tiny plant. You know, you could get a tiny one for maybe $50. That's still pretty expensive. But like, if you want to get an established one, it's gonna be upwards of $100, $150, $200, something like that. I don't want to spend that money on a plant that I'm not confident would survive in my collection. And if she's on your wish list, if you want to get her, go for it. By all means. Like, again, that is up to you. That is a personal choice. My personal choice is I'm good. Actually, so far I feel like I've kind of gone back and forth between beautiful plants that are really temperamental that I don't want to spend my money on, but like otherwise, and plants that are pretty common, but I'm not interested in. So this next one is the latter. It's a Dracaena marginata. And listen, it's kind of like the spider plant. They actually kind of have similar looks to them now that I'm thinking about it, with like how they're they have like the spiky growth, not spiky. How do I even describe that? You know what I mean? It looks like hair. For the spider plant, they look like a little hair explosion. Dracaena marginata, same thing, like a little hair explosion. I think in general, I actually don't think that I have any Dracaena in my collection at the moment. At one point I had the Dracaena fragrance, I think, like the corn plant, I think is what people often call them. So I don't know, there's just very few Dracaena that I actually like. I will say snake plants, which are also, I guess, technically Dracaena, but I honestly prefer to call them Sansevieria because it's all kinds of confusing to be talking about Dracaena, the like hairy kind, and Dracaena, the snake plant kind. Actually, those more recently have been growing on me. I used to like not be in love with them either, but now that I've been seeing them at a distance, there's a few varieties that I kind of want to check out. But anyways, that's besides the point. I think, okay, let me put it this way. I think they look really beautiful in certain people's homes. I think that they really fit in certain aesthetics. But for some reason, I just feel like they don't really go with the other plants that I have in my collection. They don't really go with my interior design style and the choices that I tend to make. I feel like I've been name dropping a lot of plant YouTubers lately, but Good and Planty is another plant YouTuber. Her name is Kat. She's obsessed with Dracaena marginata, and I think that it really fits her vibe. That's great. I love it in her collection. But for some reason, I can admire it from afar, but I just don't think that it's for me personally. So I don't know, I'm just not as attracted to them personally. All right, next, going back to like the beautiful but like expensive plants on this list is the variegated Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. Okay, I adore my green Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. It grows really well for me. It's really a fast grower too, my goodness. And it's beautiful. I love that it climbs like up my wall. It's fantastic. Mwah. Everything that you could want in a plant to achieve those jungle vibes. Now, imagine it variegated. I feel like I've been seeing this plant kind of on the up and up. I mean, it's been around for a little while, but like I've been seeing it just pop up more and more often. Like it seems very hot on the market right now, very desirable. Like everyone's wanting a variegated Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. At least that's like what I've seen in my personal circles on social media. And do I think it's really beautiful? Of course. I mean, I love the Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, and then if you make it variegated, sure, that's beautiful. I don't know for sure if I prefer it over my like regular green Rhaphidophora tetrasperma though. Like it's almost a little bit too much for me. Like if I were to imagine an entire wall of that, I don't know, it's just like it's a little too much. Like it's too busy. And maybe I would take that back if I ever were to like actually own it and grow it and realize like how beautiful it is in person. And there's room for that. But then when you look at the price tag, sweet, sweet 4 figures. Hang on, I'm price checking a lot of things in this video. Yeah, you got baby plants going for like $200 to $300. For a while, I was seeing upwards of like $1,000 for this at some point. So it's just like, I don't know. Do I really want to be spending that? No. Like, do I want to spend that kind of money on any plant ever? At least, especially one that's like a tiny baby that isn't fully established and large and that sort of thing. I don't think I can justify it. I don't think that I can. Okay, this one is sort of just a blanket statement. This is the one exception. I have owned this kind of plant. Like the other plants, I've actually never really owned those specific ones, but like this is a whole genus. And it's Tradescantia. I've been talking about this a lot on my channel, I think. I've been realizing that Tradescantia and I just don't really get along that well. And I do think that it's really pretty. I think in the right settings, it can grow like an absolute weed and grow so fast, but just the growth pattern and like how prone it is to crisping. And in my experience, it's like once it gets past, I had one that got spider mites and oh my gosh, never. I would never be able to get spider mites off of that plant, like the way that because it had sort of like a fuzzy texture to it to begin with. The leaves did, and there were so many leaves, they're all small, and it was just like, I would never be able to treat a pest on that plant without absolutely murdering it. And you know, the roots are really fine as well, so if you miss watering it, it's not abundantly drought tolerant because it just gets all crispy in my experience. So I just don't think that Tradescantia and I are gonna ever really fully get along. I might consider getting a Tradescantia Nanook. again because I used to have one, but it was really small. I don't know. I would consider getting like one of those really robust looking Tradescantia Nanukes that look like they can take a hit. But other than that, I don't think I'm gonna buy any more Tradescantia. That just might be not for me. Well, I think that will be it for this video. There are definitely a number of other plants that I think I wouldn't buy or do kind of an anti-haul situation. So if you want to see a part 2 of this video, please let me know. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe. All those things are super, super helpful for my channel. And yeah, I hope that you guys have a wonderful and blessed day. Bye-bye.